Welcome to the next episode of Talking About. We're back for another exciting episode, aren't we, Nicole?
Yes, we are. It is like we never left. I absolutely love being in the studio, and I'm really excited of what we've got planned for today's episode.
It's been a while since we've seen you.
I know. It's been a long time coming. Love a good podcast,
Yeah.
and hopefully everyone that is watching enjoys today's episode
Yeah,
as well.
hope so too. This month we're really excited to explore the world of Sky original movies. From behind the scenes to upcoming releases, we've got plenty to talk about.
Yeah, and today we are pulling back the curtain on Sky Cinema, who co-produces around 12 scripted feature films each year. As Sky Cinema, we can join at any point in production, whether that be from an original concept all the way through to acquiring the rights and also financing a project, which is super exciting that we get to hear a little bit about today.
Definitely. We'll give you a sneak peek at upcoming projects and even share how you could submit an original idea.
Joining us today is Andrew Orr, head of Sky Original Films. With over 20 years in the business and the entertainment industry, Andrew, you joined in 2022 here at Sky, and we've helped bring things like Ferrari and Lee to Sky Cinema. So it's really great to have you here. I know we spoke just before we started that you hadn't been in front of the camera, so how are you feeling being here in the studio?
Yeah, no, thank you for welcoming along. Yeah, I am slightly terrified. There's a screen over to my left, which I'm trying to avoid seeing myself. It's bad enough hearing yourself, but seeing yourself is... that's why I like to stay well behind the camera in my job.
Absolutely. Well, welcome to our space. We can't wait to kind of get into the chat and hear more about you and what you do. So just to kick us off, can you tell us a little bit about you and your role of head of Sky Cinema Originals?
Yeah, so I'm the head of originals for Sky Cinema. The Sky Originals, they sit on the Sky Cinema channel, so we sit alongside the fantastic films we get through our studio output deals, like the deals we have with Universal, with Paramount, with Sony and with Warner Brothers, and Sky Originals sit alongside that, really trying to find the exact film, the type of film that our audience love and respond to. Sometimes that's maybe slightly different to what the studios provide, but actually we see that there's a real role for what we do. And again, also it's about trying to provide, a large number of films. The studios do great and they do really good film, but actually they're making less and less films. Mm-hmm. So actually for the kind of service that we want to provide, we've always tried to get the largest selection of films. I think the Sky Cinema adds to that. And again, we can be really smart in how we use the Sky, our platform, the Sky ecosystem for the customer to make sure they're promoted. And that's quite an efficient way of promoting our films to our directly to our audience as well.
And I think just going back to, around you being in Sky since 2022, I think it'd be really interesting to hear what was your journey before you got to Sky in the entertainment industry. It's
quite a long journey. I'll try and give the potted history, but I grew up and I loved film, and that's all I wanted to do. And then I'm from Edinburgh in Scotland. I was at Aberdeen University, so I don't think you can find it as farther away place from Hollywood or the film industry. But I started working on film sets during my summers. I met people, I got introduced. I thought, I don't really want to work on a film set. It's really hard, really stressful work. So I thought, actually, I quite want to be in an office or in the more business side of things. Probably suited my skills. So when I first moved, I worked for Universal for a while, and then I moved into the independent sectors. The independent sector really is the area in which Britain and outside Hollywood, that's how you make films. The studios make the big films. Anything outside of that, which is now actually the majority of films that really made, because the studios focus on certain types of films. A lot of films are made by the independent sector. And so I worked for a sales company, which is a slightly odd thing. That's basically where you take films and you help get them financed and made, and then you go to the market and try and sell them around the world. So you sell it to someone in North America, but you might sell it to someone in Australia, in Germany, in Taiwan, in South Africa, all around the world. That's where I used to go around the world licensing these films. And I did that for many years. I ran a company and we made films and we sold films, did that around the world. And then Sky really started being very active in the film, and so I reached out and tried to make contact with people, because it was really exciting to see a very commercial company like Sky get involved in independent film. And then obviously interviewed him. I'm very fortunate to get the job as the head of original film.
Wow, sounds really exciting. Sounds like you've really.
It is
It is
exciting. It is it sounds exciting when I talk about it. It is actually just hugely stressful having a career in film, because basically it is independent film, and film is like, I don't want to say it's a bit like gambling sometimes. It's like there's a real uncertainty, but that's funnily that's sometimes what audiences like. If you ask someone what they like about film, sometimes it's like, well, it's unlike anything I've seen before. So that's always the challenge. You're trying to find something new and different. Yeah, sometimes there's a place for types of films where it's a genre they know and they understand, but actually sometimes, there's so many elements of a film for it to work. You can have a great script, but actually if you don't have the great director, or you don't get the right cast, or actually even down to the point like when you release it in that opening weekend, say it's great weather, no one goes to the cinema. And that's happened. It's like there's so many moments in which a film can kind of, obviously that's usually always recover from that. But there has been times where, just one decision on a film kind of impacts either the casting of an actor or, the way the story is taken. So there's a lot of things. And that obviously with experience, you learn really how to monitor every single part to make sure you're doing it right. So it is very exciting. It is, probably more stressful than my family would like it to be, but actually when you get it right and when you deliver a great film, because film is permanent, film is forever, more than any kind of a lot of the kind of sort of art forms or pop cultural art forms, film is sort of permanent and has that it will live with people for a long time.
I was just about to say that it's the things that people remember. They remember how it made them feel, and often people rewatch things that either are nostalgic or have a soft spot for them, and getting that piece in someone's heart or memories of who they've watched something with.
Totally. I mean, that's it. My favourite thing is I love rewatching stuff now, and I think we noticed that I think during COVID, the pandemic, a lot of rewatching, a lot of nostalgia, but actually it is about, as you say, how people feel. And actually, if you get that film right, and we actually see it on Sky Cinema, some of our films, that people, the ratings would make you say that, people are rewatching this. That's not just like one person. That is like, that's repeat viewing. And we see it also at Christmas as well, which is a big time for us as well. There's that real feeling of rewatching. So I think it is something that if you get it right, it becomes something quite permanent, or has a long-term life.
You have a Christmas day, don't you? Talking about Christmas.
I do, we're talking about this. So as cheesy as it might sound, the 1st of December every single year, me and my partner take the day off if it's during the week, and we do nothing but watch Christmas movies.
Brilliant.
And
on Sky Cinema.
Mostly, yes, mostly.
Only on the Sky Cinema pop-up Christmas channel.
Yes. If
fine.
Elf is not on Sky, then probably need to find that somewhere else.
It's been on the last 2 years.
So we've been fine the last 2 years. So we take the day off, get all the sweets in, the snacks, and we do nothing but have hot chocolate, bad food, and watch Christmas movies.
Brilliant.
So,
but that's what we see from the people start watching Christmas films. I think the pop-up channel launches, I think, in like mid-November, and even in this sort of 2-3 years I've been here, you've seen that people are starting Christmas earlier in terms of viewing. And actually you see it with Netflix with this, they do a couple of Christmas films, like this year they did Hot Frosty and something else.
Yes.
That launched quite early. And it's something we're talking about for our Christmas, which I'll talk about later, our Christmas film, like when we date it. How early can we go for Christmas?
And then can you squeeze a rewatch in the same year? That's the question.
That would be the ultimate,
When we did some research, we found that there have been over 40 Sky original films featuring legends like Kate Winslet, Karen Gillan, Jason Statham, Russell Crowe, my favourite. What's it like knowing that you've worked with some of the biggest names in the industry?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting question. I think for us, the excitement is what they do and seeing them work at their best. And this is across a whole range of what they can, as a big name actor, you can do. First of all, there's the performance. I think to see someone like Kate Winslet and Lee, it's an incredible performance.
Yeah.
And you go, oh yeah, this is why they're famous. It's not just there's the fame and there's the kind of profile, but actually when you watch them really do great work, I think that's the excitement. And I think also what was great with Kate was then, because she was a producer on the film, it was a passion project. She'd worked really hard to get that to screen, and she was very clear in her mind what this film was and how she would support it. I tell you, Kate Winslet came to Sky. She came to Austerley to meet the Sky team.
Oh, did she?
That's how she was. When we're doing the deal, she was like, okay, I want to meet these people. If I'm going to do it with Sky, and this is quite early on in, I suppose, our journey as a distributor, because I think for certain people, up until recently, they've been like, well, they're Sky, it's PTV, it's a great business, but actually I don't understand them as a film partner. So she wanted to understand it. She came in, you know, she met Efron, and you know, and you know, and got some work done on the deal as well. You know, she's a really smart person. But then the exciting thing was then when the film was finished and we came to release it, she did everything. And then I'm sure you guys probably saw she was on every chat show, on the podcast, every interview. She did everything and was so brilliant and eloquent talking about the film. And that's the excitement for us, is harnessing that star power.
Yeah.
Even on, so I suppose, a different film is when we worked with Jason Statham. When we bought The Beekeeper, he said, okay, I want this to be released theatrically. And that was quite unusual for Sky. Obviously, we had done versions of it. We hadn't done exactly what he wanted.
What does that mean?
So that means putting it in cinemas. So actually, rather than coming straight to Sky, you know, and this is a new thing we've done on a couple of titles, and we're like, okay, well, that's what he wants. And I suppose for us also with Jason, he's amazing, but you know, the films, the sort of 2 or 3 before that, some hadn't been released in cinemas, probably due to the pandemic.
Yeah.
So, but it was interesting. We're like, well, that's what he wants, okay. But interesting then when we did it, and the film turned out brilliantly, and there's no one better in action in the world than Jason Statham. He just, when you watch him, and I can say this from sort of quite a boring film purist point of view, the way he moves and the way he acts action is brilliant. There is no one better. But then you see the audience who love him, how they react, because we did put it in cinemas and people loved it, and people went to see it. It did really well, and then it came to Sky. You know, we had a window, but then it came to Sky, and I think our audience, our customers really liked that. They really felt. We actually got feedback. We did it. You know, there's amazing customer closeness sessions, and I can't remember. It was I think it might have been an engineer was telling us that, you know, they'd spoken to one of their customers, like, oh, I got The Beekeeper, and it's just been in cinemas, and we were like, it's the best bit of feedback we had on that film.
Yeah, and I think it happens so quickly, and I think that's something that's really interesting to talk about, is how do you make that decision of what goes where when it comes to original content?
Yeah, I mean, that piece of work around theatrical was actually about, I can't remember, like 6 to 9 months piece of work that I did. One of the things they asked me, a few things I did for them, and that's what I did, because we ended up, when I joined, we had a couple of films, like we were about to do Lee, we were acquiring The Beekeeper, we had Ferrari, we had May, December, The Holiday. We had these really high-profile films that were maybe, and had expectations and talent that were maybe slightly beyond what we'd had before. And there was a discussion around what we do about theatrical, because actually we're a service. We really are here for our customers to put on the service. But actually then you've got to balance that where you've got filmmakers, you've got talent. So we looked at, there's sort of 3 areas in which we look at theatrical. One is where if you have a Jason Statham saying, I'll do this deal with you about one in cinemas, we can go, okay. Or if it was maybe not Jason Statham, we might say, no, that doesn't work for us. And that's quite simple. And then we have, I think, sometimes where we might want the film in consideration for awards like BAFTAs and Oscars and stuff. In order to do that, you have to be theatrically released. And not only do you have to do that, I think the voters who vote on that are all very sophisticated and understand what real theatrical is and what really being in cinemas. So that's what we did on Lee, for example, and that worked really well. The film was nominated for the BAFTAs for British film, and Kate again was brilliant in sort of supporting that and doing lots of promotion around that. And then I suppose there's a third option, which we did on Ferrari, where we just have this great film that feels big, feels cinematic. We should put that in a cinema. We should have it in a cinema. And then I think what we then find is our audience really respond to that, because actually they might not go and see it in cinemas, and that's okay. But then very quickly, because we've done a deal, it's called windowing, which is how long it takes from being in cinemas to being on Sky. So that's something we negotiated. It's coming quite quickly. So I think for the customer, they're like, great, we've got something that feels really big, a big cinematic experience. I've got it at home, and that's for us. That's what we should be doing.
Have you seen Lee?
It's on Sky Cinema, and there you go. You can watch it.
Not yet.
That's fine. You can watch it on Friday.
No, but I have
really
seen
good.
a lot of interviews. I love a good behind the scenes and love a good interview about the process and the work that's went into.
Well, that's it. She
the
did
process.
a great. Kate did that. She did a really good piece. The social media team did a fantastic piece of sort of behind the scenes and the history of it. So you should watch that as well.
I'm sold.
I'll love it when it's a true story as well.
Yeah.
And especially at the end when you had the real Lee there.
Yes. Yeah.
It was definitely a watch.
Spoilers,
Yeah,
Adrian.
anyway, have you ever turned down a project that became a huge success?
Yeah. I mean, this actually might not be a film that everyone knows, but in what I used to do, there was an Irish film called Once, which was, and I wouldn't say I discovered it, but it was in a really small film festival in Galway. I'd heard about it. I got a link to watching it. It's a beautiful film. I should watch it if you haven't. It's about John Carney, who's gone on to be quite a big filmmaker. It was his first feature film. It's about a guy playing guitar who's just a busker, and he meets this girl, and they form a relationship, start making music together. And we watched it. I was like, this is lovely. We should do this. And I remember my colleague saying, no, she was more senior than me. She was like, no, we don't do it. I don't know how to sell this. And so we passed on it. And then sort of nothing happened, and I was like, And then the producer kept on contacting me, like, no, we're not going to do it. And then it went to Sundance and had one of those Sundance moments where everyone in the world wanted to buy that film. And they sold it to Fox Searchlight for the world. It was a big hit.
Wow.
It won Best Song at the Oscars.
Oh,
So for about a year, I probably didn't every night used to not sleep properly because I'd be lying there going, I can't believe I passed on that. I can't believe I passed on that film. So,
I would have loved to be in a fly in the wall in that conversation when that kicked off. You
But
going
it-
into your boss.
but the worst thing is
Amazing.
actually it was sort of like we went, yeah, okay, I kind of didn't challenge it enough, and that's on me. You can't blame other people. You've got to take responsibility for your decisions and going actually. And so I'm very clear now. I think there's also what we do, and I try and do it with the team. It's like there is, making the right decisions and really making sure you're debating the right things, because that's the hard thing. Because everyone's got an opinion. It's very easy to say no.
Yeah.
That's it's like it's also when you say yes, you've got to really be clear in that decision, because you're then going a long journey with, for example, Sky. There's a lot of money involved. You've got to make sure you're making the right decisions, but it's like you've got to be able to have that really good conversation, make sure you're debating the right things and discussing the right things. So yeah, that was, fortunately I've not passed on anything big. I mean, that was a very big success, but but that it's still painful for me talking about it. So I haven't talked about it for a while.
I was going to say, we'll move on, not
Yeah.
to trigger you. But there was something you were saying there around the debating, whether that be in person or in the room. How do you balance the debate of what our customers want to see, but also like what your individual tastes and preferences are? How do you bring that into the debate? Or does that not come into
that's a good
question?
one actually, because look, it's interesting. My background and what I've done was, I've done, and I'm very commercial. I love commercial films, but actually my background is very art house, very director driven and stuff like that. But I love the opportunity to come here and really focus on the customer. Is like, that's the best thing. We know what our customers want.
Yeah.
The challenge is how we can deliver that, because it's all very well saying, oh, they want this type of action, but actually if you unpack that, to deliver that type of action, you've got to have a certain level of budget. To have that level of budget, you've got to have a great script that attracts a great director, because the director gets you cast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually our audience are driven by cast. If we have a great action film, there's no one they know in it, they're not going to watch it.
No matter how
So
good the
actually,
car crash is.
no matter how much the budget, but all those things. So actually just going, okay, we need, it sounds simple, we just need a certain type of action film, but actually to get the script, to get an original idea, to get brilliance on the page, which attracts a director, who then gets you cast, who gets you the money.
Yeah.
All those things are very difficult. I think what we try and do is that we've been doing this a couple of years, within the genres, we've done so much work and so much reading. I think we have a good idea of what is good within that. So it's not necessarily too much about our taste. We have taste, but actually we know really clearly we're sitting within, the certain pillars that work for us, be it sort of action or animation or family or seasonal. It's very clear about what our customers want and what's the best version, because we want the best for our customers. So that's our job. It's not about what's best for me, it's what's best for them.
If your life was turned into a Sky original,
Yeah.
okay, what genre would it be, and who would play you?
So they wouldn't do my life story because it's too boring. I'd probably want it to be a romantic comedy, because I'm quite a romantic
Nice.
person, and I love Glenn Powell.
Star.
So I look nothing like Glenn Powell, I acknowledge that, but I love Glenn Powell. I
Yeah.
think he's great.
Yeah.
Absolute star. Used to have a lot of debates, talking about a lot of debates within the team about whether Glenn Powell would be a star or not. So Glenn Powell.
And
I'm allowed to do that, am I?
Yeah.
I can't,
yeah,
like,
absolutely. And pick whoever you want. And he is very much in the sweet spot, I think, of rom-coms. I think we've
Yeah.
not had a lot of rom-coms, and they're
Yes.
starting to come back, and
yes.
he's in a few good ones recently. Not that
Yeah,
I'm a
I
big
think
fan.
rom-com, my partner, we've got kids, culture clash, that's where you go. That's what we'll do.
Yeah.
So just moving slightly on, you'd mentioned around kind of directors and stars. Is there anybody that you have in mind that you'd love to work with through Sky Originals?
Yeah, there is. I mean, Christopher Nolan's not available to us. I think I look at it slightly differently. I think what I'd love to do is, like, Steve McQueen, who made 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah.
He then made like a film called Widows, which is actually a remake of a British TV show, but it's a brilliant kind of heist thriller about these women who, actually their husbands have been put in prison and they have to complete the heist for them. But actually that's a really top level, almost filmmaker made sort of art house films. Someday getting you got Viola Davis, Liam Neeson, Colin Farrell, got that big level. That's what I'd love to do. I'd love to get like an exciting British director, like a kind of like a Rain Allen Miller, who did Rye Lane, which is a great film. Rich Pepiet did Kneecap. I mean, I loved a film called Polite Society that Universal did. Nina Mazur directed that. I'd love to get them and then get them to say, right, this is the type of genre, sort of really commercial action or thriller, and then get like the best of British and Irish cast to do that kind of film. And really, because I think our audience would be so excited by that. So then get a kind of Paul Mescal or James McAvoy or Daisy Edgar Jones, just get that best of British and Irish cast.
Yeah.
Because I think that would be in a very commercial genre. I think that's what I'd love to do.
Oh, I want to see that movie.
Yeah. We're trying.
What can viewers expect from Sky Originals in 2025?
Yeah. So we've got, I mean, I'll talk about a couple of things here. So we've got, in April, we've got Cleaner. This is like what we like to call sort of Die Shard. It's a big action film set on a high-rise building in London. It's Daisy Ridley from Star Wars, and it's directed by a guy called Martin Campbell. So Martin Campbell directed GoldenEye, and then he directed Casino Royale. So he's a brilliant kind of thriller and action director. And it's basically set in a high-rise building in London. This energy company are having a big sort of event, and it's hijacked by terrorists. And then the only person that can save them is the window cleaner, played by Daisy Ridley, who's trapped outside sort of 50 floors up, and she is the person that has to get in and save those people. And Daisy's brilliant, actually. I mean, obviously she's really well known from Star Wars, and I hadn't actually really seen her do action. She can kick ass, so that's really exciting. It's got that in April. And then, I think seasonality and sort of is quite important to us and families. So this year we have, I'm not quite sure it's a Halloween film. It's a pumpkin film. So we have a film called Grow, which is our sort of autumn Halloween film. We have Golda Roosevelt, who's one of the leads in Bridgerton, Nick Frost from Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead, and then we've got a new up-and-coming actress, brand new, called Priya Rose Brookwell, who's fantastic. Basically, it's about a young girl played by Priya, who's, I think she's like an orphan. Her mum has sort of disappeared, and they discover she's got one living relative who's her aunt, who's a farmer, played by Golda Roosevelt, who's very grumpy, not interested in kids, not interested really in anyone. And they end up having to live together. But the farm is actually in this small town, which is the pumpkin capital of the world. So pumpkins are the biggest thing there, and the pumpkin competition is the biggest thing. So the girl enters the pumpkin competition to grow the biggest pumpkin. And it's turned out really well. Nick Frost is hilarious. Also got Joe Wilkinson in it. So we've got that coming out around kind of, half turn. And that's, everyone buys pumpkins now. That's big. And then we've got our Christmas film for this year, which we're really excited about, which is called Tinseltown. And this is about a big Hollywood action star who's got his action franchise, but it's kind of, failing, and, he's done about part 10 of it. No one's interested. So he comes to the UK. He wants to reinvent himself as a serious actor. So he comes over to the UK and he thinks he's doing Shakespeare at the Globe Theatre. Actually, he's doing Panto at the Globe Theatre in the north of England, and he has no idea. And we know this for a fact because I was in the international market recently trying to talk about what Panto is. It's very difficult to explain what pantomime is to anyone who's not British. They really look like
what do you mean? People shout, "He's behind you."
Yeah, they think you're mad. So that's actually brilliant, because then we've got Kiefer Sutherland, who's playing the film star. We've got Rebel Wilson playing someone who's involved in the town in the theatre. We've also got Danny Dyer, Derek Jacobi, Jason Manford, and loads of other great comedy names. So that is going to be coming out, as we discussed, around Christmas, just before Christmas. So we're really excited about that.
That is such a jam-packed star. Like you say, Kiefer Sutherland in what seems like a Christmas movie, like not really seen him do that, and then when you bring in those other names definitely one that I'm looking forward to. And then we said Die Shard. I don't think I'm going to forget that.
No,
'cause it took me
sorry, I
a
shouldn't
minute.
picture it that way.
It
Look,
took me a minute to realise what you meant, or the big building and the.
Tinseltown, Christmas is really important for us, and we've had actually a lot of success. Things like we had A Boy Called Christmas, which was really big, and that was actually the top-rated film on Sky Cinema for the whole year across all the amazing studio films.
Really?
That was the top film, and then 2 years ago we had Genie, which was a Richard Curtis Christmas film with Melissa McCarthy. Again, that was one of the top-rated films on Sky Cinema that year, and I think our audience, I think they kind of expect it. Actually, we've got some research in the marketing. There's a feeling like, I think as you do, people like to watch the old films and the classics, but I think there's an expectation of like, if there's something new, they're like, oh, well, I'll watch that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I'll watch my Home Alone, I'll watch Elf, I'll watch all the classics, but actually if there's something new, I'll watch that as well.
And especially with that Christmas time starting earlier and earlier, you've got more days to fit in Christmas movies, so we need some new stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, we talk about Christmas every single day of the year. It's a bit unhealthy, but anyway, it's lovely.
Well, you're always prepared that way.
Exactly.
So just looking at kind of all those originals that are coming up, how can people submit original ideas? Is there a process for that? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, look, we do, I think on the website there's the way of doing that. Obviously there's my contact, you can find my contact, my team's contact. What I would say about the ideas are great, it's really exciting to get them, but actually it's difficult for us to do anything just with an idea, because actually the value is having someone who can then write it, and someone can do that work, because actually this is what I realized, done this for a long time, is like we can all sit there and go, oh, what about this, what about that, and it's great ideas. You need someone who can then deliver that, and writing on the page is the hardest thing. We're open to looking at ideas, I think, but what you might find is the challenge is that there's a limit to what we can do with it. Also with our team, because obviously we work with producers who are the ones who then find the writers, get that script actually written. But we're also open to it, and I think actually I got sent a really interesting one from someone within the business about a true story. It's probably not right for us, but actually I've introduced a couple of people because I think it's a really fascinating true story. But I think the value is like, and this is what producers do, this is their job. They find writers, they find directors, they bring it all together. It's a real skill and art to be able to do that.
So you were saying there was a website?
Yeah, I think, sorry, on the Sky website, on the Sky Original team, it has the kind of submission policy on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, amazing. We will get that link and make sure
it's
shared.
Yeah, or they can find my details.
It's interesting because when what you said there, the producers do quite look for the writer. As a viewer, you don't think about any of that, do you? You just want to see what the end result is. But absolutely,
and that, as I said earlier, but talking about all the different stages where it can kind of go wrong, that's the job of all these people involved in it. Because I think also sometimes people actually, the idea is core, because actually, like for example, when I talk about Tinseltown, when you pitch that idea, people go, yeah, I want to see that, that. So there is a lot of value in the headline idea, especially in certain genres. Having that great idea is really important. But actually, for us, there's lots of stuff. As I say, a great idea will get you so far. But actually, it's the great script who gets the great director, who gets the cast, and the cast brings the money. And that's how we make the film. So if you only have one of those, it's going to be difficult to get all those elements. You have to have that great writing. And we read a lot of scripts, and there's some really good ones. There's a lot of not great ones either as well.
There's quite a lot of competition as well in there in streaming. So what's Sky's secret weapon?
Yeah, that is. Yeah, we are in a really competitive market in terms of like Netflix, Amazon, but we're also sort of competing against more traditional distributors who will put it in cinemas, will then exploit it on PVOD, on SVOD, on pay TV, free TV, on even some DVD still goes around. So there's lots of ways. We are a bit focused on maybe on just on Sky or sometimes on theatrical. So it's very competitive. I think that we're a big business. Sky's a big organization. So where we can really get the business behind something, that's a superpower we have. And we saw on something like Ferrari, there's nothing more perfect than that film for us. We were able to work with Sky Sports, who are amazing. And like, I remember actually one of our colleagues did the work. We managed to get Adam Driver, Patrick Dempsey, and the filmmaker Michael Mann at the Austin Grand Prix doing that introduction. And then you look at the feed. That Sky Sports feed goes all around the world. So obviously that's not important to us, but for our international partners, that was incredible what they did. So that so getting that kind of using the weight of the business is brilliant. But interestingly, we are a big business, and that sometimes come with problems. Where Sky is best actually is when we're nimble and quick, and we see something and go, we want that.
Yeah.
Let's move quickly. And we can usually, historically, Sky's always been a quick, kind of aggressive, but really determined business to get what's right for our customers. And I think we've done that on Sky Originals, where sometimes we've made offers or done things. You're like, well, actually, we've moved really quickly on that. Let's get ahead of these people. And that's when we're really good.
That's where that sweet spot is.
Yeah.
So there's so much to look forward to. I want to watch that Clearer movie in April already, and looking forward. Hopefully it's out in time for my Christmas movie day, Tinseltown, but I'm sure I'll find out later in the year. But we can't pass up the opportunity of asking you to name that quote, since you are a movie buff. A movie buff, rather.
Okay.
So I think you're going to be okay, based on what you've said already.
No.
Not to put you under pressure, but anyone who's watching as well, take a note down and see how well you do. I'm not going to butcher these with trying to act them out. So
Fine.
you're going to get deadpan, straight, black and white
Straight
answer.
Glaswegian accent, okay.
Yes, I'll emphasise. So number one, you can't handle the truth.
So that's A Few Good Men, and that is Jack Nicholson in the scene with Tom Cruise.
Bonus points.
Amazing.
Only looking for the movie, but I love that we got the actors.
Yes.
So we have actually here, I'm going to sell. We've got a film called Nuremberg coming out later this year with Rami Malek, Russell Crowe, and Michael Shannon, Richard E. Grant, Leo Woodall. And it's about the Nuremberg trials. So it's not as commercial, but it's in that sort of Lee space. But there's a courtroom sequence which is just so powerful. Wow. And actually, when we were watching, I was thinking about nothing as good as the Few Good Men courtroom scene. That's incredible. But we're in that area, and it's really powerful. And that's coming out later in the year.
Look forward to that. To Infinity and Beyond.
Oh, the Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Full points so far. Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Home Alone. It's the Kevin character, but he hold on. Yeah, he says it, but is it not the film in the background he uses it?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
It's black and white, isn't it?
Black and white film. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The interesting fact, it might be popular, that they actually made that film.
Yes.
Just to be able to play it in that movie.
Oh,
so it wasn't a real film.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
It's brilliant. That's our Christmas film. We watch Home Alone. Actually, Home Alone 2 is an argument is as
far
good,
superior.
if not better, than Home Alone 1.
Completely agree. And I do think that comes from the fact that I'm terrified of spiders, and the spider pops up in Home Alone 1 at various points.
Yeah.
So I don't even go near Home Alone 1, and if I do, it's literally like this. So thank you for agreeing that Home Alone 2 is better. I can go home and hang my hat on that one.
I'm the king of the world.
Oh, that's Titanic, isn't it? That's the DiCaprio says that when he's on the front of the boat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay.
You sit on a throne of lies.
Oh my God, I don't know this. That film?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been on Sky Cinema twice.
It has for 2 years in a row.
2 years in a row.
Elf.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you for the hit. Thank you for the hit. I am not an Elf expert actually. I've only seen Elf. Elf's new to me. I only watched it last year with my kids.
Oh, instant classic.
Yeah.
This one, I'm not sure you'll get this one. I know this one. He eats monkeys.
I don't know that. Is that an animation?
No, I would say this is the toughest one.
Yeah, it's
on
a
the
very
list.
recent film that's just been out recently.
Oh, is it it's not Monkey Man, no?
No, I'll give another clue and then we'll tell you the answer. It is in a sequel of a very famous movie that was out last year. You've actually mentioned some of the cast that were in the movie.
You have mentioned.
Oh, no, no, just tell me, because there's too painful.
It is Gladiator 2.
Oh, yes.
Few names were mentioned.
Yes, yeah.
And the final one, sometimes I use fire to smoke out the hornets.
That's The Beekeeper.
Yes.
Jason Statham.
Yeah.
Yes. Well done.
Brilliant. Well done.
That would have been embarrassing.
I know, I was
Yeah.
reading that one thinking, please,
Yeah,
please
thank
get
you.
this one
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Well, excuse your Gladiator 2, because that was a recent edition. So thank you so much for playing along. I think you got almost full marks, which is incredible, giving us those extra pieces of
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
And before we wrap up, we did say that there was a random question given to us by our previous guest.
Okay.
Do you want to do the honours, Adrian?
Yes. What one tune would get you on the dance floor?
Oh, it's Jamiroquai Space Cowboy David Morales remix.
Oh, excellent.
That's my favourite.
And before you leave the studio, we will get a question from you to take out to our next guest. in
Oh,
the
I thought it'd be a
podcast.
Sky related question.
No, completely random. It
Okay.
can be Sky related if you want.
Fine.
Or it can be completely random. But thank you so much. It has been a pleasure getting to know you, talking about the film and everything that's to come. I am ready to add stuff to my playlist when it's available, which is super exciting. And a massive thank you to everyone that has watched this episode. Let us know in the comments how you did in the quiz, if you took note of your score, and let us know what you're looking forward to in the movies. And we will be back next month with our neurodiversity focused podcast. See you then.